Okay, just to follow up to the watch list we posted last night. We don't do that very often, but we threw a watch list up of stocks we were watching. Made a little video last night, so I thought I better do a follow-up here. So that's what this is. One of them was OI for a possible bounce. It's been down 4 days in a row, and as I add today's in, you can see it definitely had a nice bounce today. Typically the way we play a bounce play, this is the opening 5-minute candle here, is a break of the 15-minute high, assuming you have a fairly narrow range for the first 15 minutes. So just switching to 15-minute candles here. This is the opening 15-minute candle, and it did have a narrow range, 36.22, 36.45. So what is that, 23-cent range? So the buy is a break of the first 15 minutes of trading, which would have been 26.46. Worst case stop, low of the day, 26.21. So still not a bad risk reward. And from 26.46, this thing made it all the way up to 27.36. So certainly a nice bounce there. Having said that, personally, myself, I missed it. I was messing with other stuff because, we do a lot of different ideas and finding stocks on the move and playing them that way too. So some of our members, I believe, caught OI as a bounce play. Again, the entry, break of the 15-minute high, assuming it's got a fairly narrow range. So the entry, that's not what I wanted. Entry was right there. Worst case stop right there. And certainly a nice move. But unfortunately, I did not get it. Looking at the list here, I'll show you one that I did take. We had a couple regional banks on watch. MI was one that I was watching. Now this is what the chart looked like last night. Unfortunately, it gapped up as the market gapped up, but we had catalyst of 775, a break of this, and the first catalyst was 763. Well, you can see it opened above that. So then we had to shift gears and try to find another entry. Okay, so it opened and hit 774. Again, significant because 774 was also the high from the other day. So now 775, pretty important number for MI. So one thing I did call in our chat room was, I said if it breaks this little spike here, 771, if it gets to 772, I'm going to go long a little bit. I said, and I'll add if we get to 775, because then I'll believe it, right? Then I'm in breakout mode. So I nibbled here with my stop right below these candles here. So I had a 772 call, 766 stop. So a 6-cent risk. That's not bad, but I definitely didn't have momentum on my side because I didn't get the high of day break. And you can see what happened. The 772 hit here, and 5 minutes later, it's coming back down. And I went ahead and let it stop me out right here. But then look what happened after that. Maybe a lot of people gave up, I don't know. There may have been news because all the regionals got slapped. But so I did lose 6 cents a share on MI. Others in our room played Zion the same way. I also called Zion. It was doing the same thing. Not uncommon for regional banks. Basing below the early high. And remember, I showed you the Zion chart in the video last night. I liked it a lot. Again, it gapped up, so it took a little of the wind out. But this base here had highs of 22.39. I said 22.40 could get you through the high of the day. Worst case stop, 22.24, so 16 cents risk. And this one did a little better. Hit 22.40, then it did get through the high of the day, and then went to 22.55. As we teach our members, anytime you get a dime or more, you definitely want to sell some and go to a break-even stop. And then Zion did the same thing. Look at that, in 5 minutes, right back down. And that's a picture-perfect example why you sell some when you get a spike, because anything can happen. Stealing a quote there from Mark Douglas, who wrote Trading in the Zone, but it's a quote that I say a million times in chat, reminding people position size, so important. Paying yourself quickly on part of the trade is so important because anything can happen. So probably the best 3 words Mark Douglas said in that whole book. Anyway, so some people made a little money on Zion. I didn't take that. I messed with MI instead. I'm looking over the list. ATHR I never even looked at. Another gap up and didn't do anything. HIG, I did make one call in. It gapped up again like everything else. I did make kind of a lunchtime call in HIG. I thought since it was in breakout territory and then pulling back on lower volume, this might be a nice long right here with a worst case stop right here. And it did get, I'll give you the numbers here. The call was 22.79 and it did move to 22.90. Again, enough to put some money in your pocket and break even on the rest. But nothing to brag about there. The others that I also gave you, I never even looked at. Urban looks like it would have been nice. URBN. Again, we get sidetracked because I was calling. Remember, Urban looked like this on the daily. Urban Outfitters had a nice green candle at support. Well, today gapped up like everything else. It did give a nice, if you'd have taken this 5's pullback and gone long, even long on a break of the early high, 31.77. It did make it all the way to 32.40 something. So again, I didn't take it, but Urban did give a nice kind of follow through. And that's pretty much it from the watch list. I will share with you a couple calls we made in our chat room today. FMCN. I called this, and actually I'm trying to do a little more of this. I was projecting this live so everyone in the chat room could see what I was looking at, and called this long 24.21. So right about here on this candle. Let me get this right. Yeah, right about there on this candle. Worst case stop was a dime below, and it never got hit. Worst case stop right below this little tail here. So it was a dime risk. 24.21 was the call, which was right about here, and it was about a dime below risk. And from 24.21, let's get these out of here so I can read the numbers. 15 minutes later, it was all the way to 24.58, and ultimately went all the way to 24.90 without ever hitting our stop. So FMCN ended up being real nice. I also called JCPenney's, which ended up closing strong, but that didn't matter. I called JCPenney's as a short right here. Worst case stop right here. Let me see. The short idea was 33.25 right here. Worst case stop 16 cents above, and from 33.25, JCPenney's fell down to 32.81. So you could have covered anywhere in here for a nice short, and I did have a nice short in JCPenney's. Let's see, a couple other things. ATPG, everybody and their mother's been watching that one. I happened to notice today it was going into a sell-off here. By the time we found the sell-off, for me, it was time to start looking long because it was already getting killed. So called it long right here. Worst case stop right here. And it gave a, I don't know, 20 to 25 cent pop in 5 minutes. That's certainly a nice little payday, quickly. But that's about it. Didn't have a lot of highlights from today. FMCN was my personal best trade of the day. Oh, one other I could think of. Whoops. As soon as I can learn how to type. CVS Pharmacy here. Called this as a short right there. Worst case stop right there. So a nice tight trigger and stop for CVS. The short was 31.91 and the worst case stop 31.98. So 7 cents risk, and from 31.91 this did make it down to 31.60. Again, not a huge move, but a nice short nonetheless, and probably 1 or 2 minutes into the trade never even came back to break even. So anyone covering there, especially at the end of the day, had a nice little end of day trade. And that's about it. I have a couple others I could show you, but they're not too exciting, but they were nice little trades. So I'm going to quit babbling and follow up with a highlight video tomorrow night from tomorrow's trading. Have a great night.